And welcome to the very first introduction episode of 2BlueandOSU podcast, the ultimate sports podcast for your entertainment. I am your host, Zach Tillman. I am here with my two co-hosts, Morgan Garber. Morgan, how we doing?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
Outstanding. Thanks for asking. And I got Doug Desmarais on the phone. He'll usually be live with us, but right now he's on the phone. Doug, how we doing today?
Not bad, boss. How you doing?
Outstanding. Living the dream. Excited to get started with you guys on our podcast. This introduction podcast is just to give our listeners a little brief view of what they're going to get going forward. I'll tell you a little bit about our fans, bases that we follow, teams that we follow. And then at the end, we'll make our Super Bowl picks. We're all getting ready for the Super Bowl. I know Morgan's getting his food ready. Doug's getting his food ready. I got the wife getting mine ready. So let's go ahead and let Morgan start us off. Morgan, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and the teams that you follow, those terrible teams that you follow.
Oh, get out of here with that. What's going on, everybody? Morgan Garber here, coming from you from the great state of Ohio, home of the fantastic Buckeyes. Been in charge of Michigan for a while, but that'll be another segment for another day, right, Zach?
Get out of here with that. We're still better than you, and we know it.
That'll come at a later date. But yeah, I live in Ohio. Follow all Ohio sports teams. The Reds, Cavaliers, Bengals. I'm a huge Dayton Flyer fan. Huge soccer fan. Arsenal, the number one team. Been a fan of all those teams for a while now. Zach and Doug can vouch. There's no bandwagon here on this podcast. Then my Super Bowl pick, man. But I tell you what, it's I really want the Broncos to win. That's who I'm rooting for. I got a high school buddy who plays for the Broncos. Shout out to David Bruton, number 30. But I just think the Panthers got him, man. I just think the Panthers are too tough. I think Newton will come out and have a spectacular game. He's been going through a little bit of criticism here lately with the media and with different people on Twitter and whatnot. So I think he's going to come out. He's going to have a fantastic game. The Panthers just look like they just enjoy playing a game of football. They have fun. They smile. They laugh. They do a little bit of dabbing. But that's who I think is going to win, man. I just think the Panthers got it, man.
So when the Panthers lose, you all jump on Morgan. Let him know how wrong he was. Doug, you are up next. Why don't you let the listeners know Big Doug Desmarais' story?
Well, I am coming to you from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I am a diehard Michigan fan. I have been since the day I was born, really. Still got the booties to prove it. Parents had season tickets. Spent every football season going to a couple games, sitting down in the front row, having a good time. I'm also a Detroit Tigers fan, a diehard bleed Honolulu Blue Lions fan. Super Bowl 2017. Here we come. I'm also a hockey fan. I love the Red Wings. I love semi-pro hockey, Grand Rapids Griffins. Follow a little bit of college basketball. Not huge into pro basketball. I get bored easily. And, I could do without soccer. I don't even know what that is anymore. It's a bunch of kids running around kicking balls. I can do that in my living room. Other than that, not much really to go with it. I like my team sports. I love watching the Olympics and getting involved in things like curling for no apparent reason whatsoever, but it's a reason to drink and bleed red, white, and blue. So
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned curling. My brother-in-law, I'd never heard of this sport until last weekend when my brother-in-law, who does not follow sports at all, showed me the video of curling, and I was blown away by the sport. And I'm probably going to jump in on the bandwagon with it because it is insane.
All I got to say is women's Olympic curling, the British team and the Canadian team, always 10. always. No, that's just me.
And that's why Doug is going to be our color commentator on this podcast. I'll give you all a heads up right now. Doug is going to if me and
I'm already 60, so it's fine.
There we go. And
I think Doug will be our Van Pelt of the show.
Probably. A little background between Morgan and Doug. I have never heard them agree on anything other than the SEC sucks and Johnny Manziel's a turd. So
Johnny Manziel, oh God, I do have to get my Super Bowl pick.
Yes,
So,
Super Bowl pick. Who you got, Doug?
I think Carolina is going to pull this one off, but I would love to see Peyton go out on top. I love Peyton Manning and his giant six head. I want him to go out the champion that he is. So that's my prediction. I'm going to go with the Broncos, even though I highly doubt it.
So you're picking with the heart instead of the head.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Garber, see, can't even agree here. Taking the big Manny HGH head. We won't get into that right now. All right, and I am Zach Tillman. I am also a Michigan fan. I'm coming to you live from the tropical Leavenworth, Kansas. Beautiful weather we have here. I'm big Michigan sports fan. All Detroit teams. Like Doug and like every other Detroit Lions fan out there, I am a diehard. You kind of have to be. Detroit Pistons, I follow them. Morgan is our big NBA guy, so we'll kind of be banking off of him for the NBA knowledge that he's going to bring. Detroit Red Wings, I love hockey. I love following college hockey. Michigan hockey is, of course, the best team in the country. Detroit Tigers, I'll be honest with you, Doug is bigger into the baseball scene than I am. It's not really my forte, but I do follow the Tigers, and I do follow all the major transactions to what's happening out there. And I'm a big soccer fan, too. Doug is going to be struggling when Morgan and I go into the Arsenal Gunners.
There you go.
Because we're both Gunners fans. And did I leave anybody out? I think that's all Detroit teams. Tigers, Pistons, Lions.
I mean, if I'm gonna watch a bunch of girls run around on a soccer pitch, get that right. If I'm gonna watch a bunch of girls run around on a soccer pitch, I can do that across the street at the park. So
I have no words. We'll get into that. We'll get into those topics later on when we get into actual episodes.
Zach, I just want you to put out there for all of our listeners how you actually got started watching soccer, and and kind of where you stood before the last World Cup to where you are now.
So prior to the 2014 World Cup, I was on Doug's team. I was anti-soccer. Morgan would post soccer stuff on Facebook, and I would just rip into him. And finally, he called me out on it. And I actually sat down during the World Cup, and I watched the USA-Portugal game. And
great game.
that was intense.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that scoreless games or close, 1-0 games would be boring. Those last 10 minutes are far from boring in those type of games. They are intense, and I fell in love with it ever since, and I picked a EPL team to follow, ended up being the same as Morgan, and I've been on the bandwagon ever since. Now I'm FIFA all day, and I was actually up this morning at 7:30 to watch Arsenal beat Bournemouth 2-0. So
there you go.
I watched that, and I watch every weekend now. So beforehand, I was not a big soccer guy. I was on Doug's team. We're trying to convert him now. Hopefully this podcast will do that. So
that's our goal for the podcast, is to convert Doug.
yeah, don't alter, bro.
So the name of our podcast is 2BlueandOSU. However, we will be discussing a wide array of sports topics. We're not going to be just Michigan or Ohio State. We're not going to be just the Big Ten, and it won't just be college football. We're going to talk about everything. The big topics that we feel from the week prior, we will discuss. Twitter questions we'll be taking as well. So hit us up at 2BlueandOSU on Twitter with your questions. We'll be sure to get them on. Doug and I are Michigan fans. Morgan is an Ohio State fan. That's how we identify ourselves. That's a big part of our lives and who we are as people. We're sports fanatics, and those are our teams that we bleed. I'm in a Michigan room right now. Morgan has to look at me wearing the jersey and the hat and all the maize and blue. So you're welcome for that beautiful image. So that's why we named it 2Blue and OSU. There's 2 Michigan fans, 1 Ohio State fan. We're not very creative, but it will be a wide range of sports topics. We wanted to get that out there now. So anybody who thinks it's just a college football or just a Big Ten podcast, we will be talking about everything. We will be bashing the SEC. If you want an Ohio State fan and a Michigan fan to agree on something, the SEC is overrated. Yep. The SEC is garbage, and we will happily tell you why in later episodes.
And we will disagree with everything ESPN ever says about the SEC.
Well, we'll get into that episode 1. I have something for that when we go. We'll get episode 1 out on Tuesday. Be sure to listen to that. I have something great for that. I'm glad it's a great plug-in for episode 1 right there, Morgan, because I have something for that. And for my Super Bowl picks, I'll give my Super Bowl pick now. I am going with the Denver Broncos. I'm not a Denver fan. I'm a big Peyton Manning fan. Don't really like Cam Newton. We'll get into that topic another time too. But it's for no other reason than everybody is picking Carolina. Everybody picked New England last week in the AFC title game, or 2 weeks ago now, in the AFC title game. And as I was listening to all the talk, I started to feel like it was too much. The Patriots were too hyped up. The Broncos were getting fired up, and they have Peyton Manning. He's been here before. There has to be something about being there before. This team has been there 2 years ago now. And Carolina, I don't know who they have left from that Carolina Super Bowl. Morgan, do you know anybody?
No. Maybe
No.
the Water Boy.
Maybe. So it's a different team. We'll see tonight. I got Denver. Doug has Denver. Morgan has Carolina. So we'll see. We want to get that out before the game so you guys can hold us to them on our podcast on Tuesday. Morgan, you got anything else to add about what we're going to be talking about?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with everything. We kind of want to put it out there, that we want to talk about different sports. This isn't just Michigan versus Ohio State, because we could go on and on about that, and eventually we'll just
10 episodes long.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, eventually we'll just have to agree to disagree on that. But yeah, this is man, I'm just pumped and excited to put what we think out there for the listeners, and for them to give us their feedback, and just kind of debate sports, man.
There we go. Doug, what you got for us, man?
Well, it's like you said, we're not going to be just Michigan and Ohio State talk all the time. We'll cover everything, and probably some things that people don't want to hear about, but at the same time, it's important to get out there. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun, and we all have varying opinions. Even Zach and I disagree on Michigan stuff from time to time. But as of right now, I mean, going in with one of the top recruiting classes, probably the most popular coach in college football right now, it's looking pretty good. So
agree 100% there. There's no disagreement by us there. So that's what we got today, guys. We want to thank you for listening in. This is our introduction podcast. Episode 1, we're going to cover Super Bowl 50, obviously, which we're all getting ready to watch. We got college football recruiting. We'll get into – it's a spectacle show. Episode 1 is going to be a spectacle show. We got college football recruiting. We got Super Bowl 50 and the spectacle that's become. We got the Golden State Warriors. They're a spectacle all in themselves. And Curry is on fire. We'll talk about him. And then we'll get into the professional all-star games. I know Morgan is very excited about that one.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting pumped for that. We'll get into that. And then we have a segment of Why We Love Sports. We will finish up with Why We Love Sports segment. And that'll be episode 1. You guys can hear it on Tuesday. Go ahead and give us a like on Facebook, 2BlueandOSU. Follow us on Twitter. Tweet at us your questions or whatever you guys want to talk about. We'll try to get on air, any questions you may have. But we want to thank you for listening. Be sure to tune in on Tuesday, and we'll have podcasts coming out every Tuesday. Have a great day.